Hey guys, welcome to Cape and Cowl Cafe. I'm Nemo, and today we're going to be going over your guys' Batman hot takes. This is going to be part 5. If you guys enjoy the video at any point today, I'd really appreciate if you hit that like and subscribe button, but let's hop right in. Alright, first take of the day. Pete says, as a fan of Batman Beyond, I think it would be a cool take if Max became somewhat of a vigilante alongside Terry. Bruce will of course have pushback on it, however, I think it makes sense that in the eventual passing of Bruce, Max becomes that Oracle character for Terry. Yeah, I gotta say, I agree completely. I love the idea of Terry developing his own Bat family over the years. I mean, Bruce got to do it, why not Terry? And also, in the comics, Terry's little brother Matt is Robin. And Max was already super involved in the show. I mean, there was that episode where she was helping Terry with that bomb threat against the city. So it just makes sense to kind of add her to the Bat family, and she would naturally become more involved over time. I think I like her as an Oracle character more than like an actual physical vigilante going out in the field. I think it suits her skill set a lot more. All right, next up, Polished Tank says, my hot take, Absolute Batman is terrible and an insult to the character of Batman. Now, I actually used to think this way about Absolute Batman. In fact, I actually used to compare him to Injustice Superman because Injustice Superman is just way too different and did a huge amount of damage to the reputation of the character. I mean, the general public took Injustice Superman and thought that Superman was just supposed to be killing people. So we got countless iterations of evil Superman throughout media, and it just wasn't true. Now, I used to think this about Absolute Batman, where it's like, oh, like this is really bad, this could damage the image of Batman for everyone, but it's completely different. With Injustice Superman, he was regular Superman up until he killed the Joker. You know, that was a character assassination. He did something that regular Superman would never do, and that's why that version sucks ass. But Absolute Batman isn't supposed to be the same character as regular old Bruce Wayne. They are completely different people fundamentally. They grew up differently. They have different backstories. Absolute Batman still has his mother. Like, they're not the same person. So I can't go out there and say that Absolute Batman is committing character assassination against the character when it's a completely different person, you know? The difference is that Absolute Batman created a blank slate, a new status quo. We had no idea who these characters were, what they were supposed to act like, and so there weren't really any expectations. But the Injustice story drops us in this universe where we're supposed to have expectations and prior knowledge of these characters that we know and love. And then the story heavily relies on the shock value from seeing these characters do things that they would never do. So no, I don't think Absolute Batman is an insult to the character. I think it's a story that's genuinely trying to do something new and fresh, especially since we've seen the same Batman stories played out a million times. Even though it's not my favorite, I have to respect it. Alright, next up, Innocent says, hot take, Scarecrow in Batman Arkham Knight is the best version of him. Now, while I do find Scarecrow in Arkham Knight to be slightly annoying with the constant speeches and stuff, I do have to admit that he is a pretty good rendition of the character, and he comes off as being very intimidating. Now, I think my favorite way for Scarecrow to be written is when he's just trying to make people afraid. Like, he doesn't care about money or power, he just wants to inflict fear, and it's because he was tormented as a child. So he creates all of these chemical formulas and he uses science to become scary, and it makes him feel powerful. But then he looks over at Batman and he sees him being terrifying just by being himself. And Scarecrow is jealous. So much like the Joker's one true goal of making Batman break his one rule, Scarecrow's goal is making Batman afraid. That's all he cares about. He just wants to prove that he's scarier than Batman so he can feel powerful again. So while I thought that the Arkham Knight story was pretty mid, I did appreciate how Scarecrow was just a little more than a guy who wants to drop a giant fart bomb on Gotham City. You know, there was a little more depth to him. Alright, next up, Ethan says, hot take, Bane should be a one-off character because after he realized Batman is a human and not the cryptid that Bane thought he was, he should go back to Russia or Spain. Yeah, I have to agree. I really don't think that Bane should be a recurring character, or at least not a recurring member of Batman's rogues gallery. I personally love the idea of Bane building up this image of Batman in his head while he's in prison, and he genuinely thinks that he's like some kind of mythical creature or a cryptid. So after Bane is, you know, eventually beaten by Batman for the first time and he realizes that he's not a monster, he's just a dude, I think Bane would just take the L and dip, you know? Plus, I think Bane showing up over and over again really diminishes the scary factor of him as a villain. I mean, when he first showed up in Nightfall, he was supposed to be the biggest, baddest Batman villain ever. He was stronger than Batman, he was arguably smarter, he knew everything about Batman, he'd been studying him for years. But then after Batman beats him, what's next? Alright, next up, Spectacular says, hot take, what's up with the cafe part of your name? Coffee isn't even that good. I get the Cape and Cowl part because Batman, but a better name would be Batfay. Now, the funny thing is, I don't even drink coffee, but I chose the name Cape and Cowl Cafe because I want wanted my channel to feel more like a place, like a chill place for people to hang out and talk about comics rather than just another channel on a website. All right, next up, Necraz says, hot take, I believe Terry McGinnis's origin and epilogue built him up more as a character. Even if he had Bruce's genes, he never had the tragic backstory and had to earn the mantle after stealing the Batsuit and almost died when Bruce shut it off with the failsafe. He also had to deal with all of the show's events while trying to graduate from high school. Yeah, I mean, I don't think the epilogue reveal really changes much for Terry in my opinion. I mean, his backstory still plays out the same way. The entire show plays out the same way, you know? No one had any knowledge that Bruce was Terry's father. And it's not like it's some retcon where, you know, it changes everything. Like, it was just a revelation that happened a lot later in Terry's life, you know? He still felt unworthy, he still had to earn the mantle of Batman. Just because it's later revealed that he was his son doesn't mean that he's somehow less of a character, you know? Like, because this reveal happened so late in Terry's life, I don't think that it really matters that much. Like, it would have been way worse if this was some kind of retcon to where Terry always knew that he was Bruce's son. That would be way worse. All right, next up, the Arkham Dude says, hot take, I like most of the over-designed suits that Batman has worn. A perfect example of this is the Batman Beyond suit from Arkham Knight. I really like that suit and actually prefer that one over the one from Arkham City. Yeah, no, that's crazy. I'm sorry, I gotta disagree hard. Like, I don't even think that the Arkham City Batman Beyond suit looks that good. I think it's kind of grotesque, but the Arkham Knight one is just way worse. They made every wrong decision when designing that thing. It's just so ugly. I think a lot of the appeal for Batman Beyond's design comes from its simplicity. It's a lot like the symbiote suit for Spider-Man. There's not a lot going on. And the Batman Beyond skin from Arkham Knight really just looks like a Black Ops 4 skin or something. It's just so ugly. All right, next up, Nero Caesar says, I think it's ridiculous that Batman wouldn't have built his own prison to house the Joker after he's escaped for the 100th time. Batman has the money, motivation, and brains to design and build an escape-proof prison for the Joker. It solves the Joker kill dilemma and everyone wins. Yeah, but then there'd be no more stories, you know? And when it comes to this whole Batman killing the Joker argument, at the end of the day, underneath all of the fighting and the reasons and excuses and explanations, it's because the Joker is too popular and the writers don't want to kill him off. And everyone blames Batman for this. They're like, oh, Batman's a terrible character because he won't kill the Joker. It's not Batman's fault, it's the writer's fault, you know? This is just the nature of fiction, okay? The Joker is way too popular and way too important to Batman's story, so they're not gonna kill him off or get rid of him in any meaningful way. And this whole building a Joker-proof prison, I mean, yeah, it would work. I'm sure Batman would, but that's just boring, you know? And with this same logic, you could just say, oh, if Batman killed all of his villains, then there'd be no more villains and Gotham would finally be safe. While that may be true, it's still boring. And I'm sure that even if the writers had Batman create a Joker-proof prison, Joker would still escape somehow, you know? Like, it's never gonna happen. All right, next up, Capital Parker says, hot take, Ben Affleck's Justice League tactical suit is one of the best live-action bat suits. It's quite literally the closest thing to the Arkham game suit, minus the goggles, of course. Now, while I do think that this suit has a little too much going on, I don't think that you're entirely wrong. If this suit, you know, with the cowl and the goggles, if they weren't so ugly, I feel like this suit would be talked about a lot more, you know? It's not that bad. I really feel like this could have been a really good Batman design. Like, I actually think that the armor looks kind of good, you know? If you were to change up the design on the ab parts, it's not bad. You got a solid armored batsuit here. But, you know, the cowl is one of the most important parts of a Batman costume. It can really, you know, make or break the design. And this one, unfortunately, is just ugly. All right, next up, Mega Boy says, hot take, I think Batman should have more hyper-specific bat gadgets with bat names, like the Adam West version. It was one of the things that I found more fun about bats when I was a kid. Yeah, it's just more fun that way, you know? I love it when Batman is constantly naming things after himself, like the Batmobile, the Batcomputer, the Batclaw, Batarangs, Batbombs, you name it. It's just fun. And I love it even more when other characters in the universe are calling him out on it, and it becomes somewhat of a running joke, kind of like this panel here from Batman Earth 1. All right, next up, US Agent 2003 says, my hot take, Dick Grayson should become Batman. His stint as Batman in Morrison's run was like a dream come true. People say he needs to break away and stay Nightwing, but I disagree. I think he is the evolution of what Batman should be after Bruce. Damian should not have it, it always corrupts him. Now, while I don't like the idea of Dick being Batman permanently, I wouldn't mind it if he was Batman again for a little bit. I actually loved that Grant Morrison run of Batman where it was Dick Grayson Batman, Damian Wayne Robin. It was just a fun dynamic and it was a good way to kind of mix up the status quo for the Batman mythos. All right, next up, Silverfish says, hot take, early Batman should be black, dark gray with no trunks. The whole I scare criminals, not children should happen around year 3 when he isn't isn't an urban legend anymore. And then he gets the blue/trunks. He has to scare people with his look before he builds the reputation that does it for him. Yeah, I like this idea a lot. I mean, in the early days, Batman should be trying to look as terrifying as humanly possible. Well, inhumanly possible, I guess, because he's trying to look like a bat. Anyway, he would then switch to blue after he meets Superman and he gets Robin, and then in my perfect world, my little headcanon, he would switch to black again after Jason dies. Or maybe he doesn't wear the same costume every day. Maybe he wears blue one night and black the next. You know, maybe he rotates through a whole collection of bat suits, you know? They gotta get washed, right? All right, next up, Stephanie Brown, aka Spoiler, is an underutilized character and should have her own rogues gallery of villains at the minimum. All right, I'm gonna stop you right there. I have a solution to the overinflated Bat Family problem, and this solution would allow these extra members to stand on their own and get more attention. Literally, just send them somewhere else, you know? Send them somewhere where they don't have to be in Batman's shadow. The DC Universe is famous for its collection of fictional cities and all of these other places. Just send them there. That way, all of these underutilized Bat Family characters can finally stand on their own, and they can develop their own supporting cast and their own rogues gallery, and they can finally become their own characters away from Batman. Gotham City should just have Bruce Wayne, Barbara Gordon, Tim Drake, and Damian Wayne. That's it. You know, Nightwing's in Bloodhaven. I think Jason Todd should separate himself from the Bat Family to a degree, and he would also be operating somewhere else. We don't need all of these people in Gotham City. It's too damn crowded. All right, guys, that's going to be it for today's video. If you guys enjoyed it all, I'd really appreciate if you hit that like and subscribe button and drop in the comments down below your Batman hot takes. They might be featured in the next installment of the series. But yeah, until next time, I'll see you guys later.